Hey everybody, this is Jo. I'm here in my Houston, Texas garden, and I'm in Zone 9A, and I am going to give you a little walk around my garden in late April. So one of the things, I've got this is a cottage garden. It's also a butterfly garden, so I've planted lots of nectar plants and also a lot of host plants for the butterfly caterpillars to eat, because the caterpillars are very particular about what they will eat and what they will not eat. And so the other thing I'm doing this year is I thought I would add a few vegetables and fruit, and which I really haven't done very much before. I've had some volunteer tomatoes come out of my compost, but this year I decided I would grow some tomatoes. I did not grow these from seed. I tried that and it was a humongous failure, and so I just got some, so they're producing nicely. And I do have some herbs as well, and I put a different kind of, for each tomato I put a different kind of basil. So that's Genovese basil. And then in here, it's not very happy. There's Thai basil in there with this tomato. And then this is holy basil in here with this tomato. And then this is a big Genovese basil, and I just pulled that parsley out of the gravel walkway and popped it in there. And so it looks kind of cute there. So I've got, this is all parsley on this side and dill on this side, and that is for black swallowtail butterflies. And whenever we find one, we have so many green anole lizards and so many red wasps that we have been taking in any caterpillars or caterpillar eggs, butterfly eggs that we have found into a little enclosure to keep them safe, because last year anything we didn't take in got eaten up and never had a chance to even make a chrysalis. So I've got lots of aphids. You can see all the little aphids on there. And I've already got a ladybug just cleaning it up. She's the cleanup crew, eating all the aphids off of the plants in the garden. And this wonderful Amy is looking so pretty. And I love what's coming up right next to it. And they kind of both self-seeded. So they're not exactly where I would have put them in the garden. They're close, but they're not quite where I would have put them. And so they're super close together. But I love this coneflower. I've been wondering what color, since it was a volunteer, what color that would be. And it's tall like the pretty parasols, but it's much more pink. But you can see the petals are hanging down like the pretty parasols. So it's kind of this weird little, combination there. But I really love that view of all this Amy with the coneflowers floating around in the middle of it. And then back there, that looks like Amy but more green, is a carrot. And that's the carrot I stuck in the ground. I went to the grocery store and bought carrots and put them in the ground in October. And so that is the fruit of that labor, if you want to call it. I just went to the grocery store, but that's the fruit of that labor really coming to fruition. The other thing I did is something possessed me to buy zucchini seeds. And so this is a pretty small, pot. It's maybe 14 inches across. It's not very big. I'm going to have to feed this a lot and water it a lot. And I've got 2 seedlings in, but whichever one is the healthiest I will leave. And if one looks a little pitiful, I will take it out, because there's just not room for 2 plants in that one pot. But that's another, sort of edible thing I'm adding to the garden. I've still got the Texas bluebonnets coming up, and anyway, keep blooming. Out in the wild, no one's deadheading these, but I deadhead them a little bit just to keep them going. They're just so wonderful. And I try to leave, if there's a big fat seed pod, I'll leave it on. I'll leave maybe 1 or 2 seed pods per plant, and then trim the rest off so I can get more flowers. And then when I finally let them all go to seed, they will pop. They sort of spring open, and they will seed all over the yard, and that's what I want. So These are all coneflowers that are, some of them are better than others. I've got 2 different varieties in here, and so it's still kind of a guesswork as to what that's gonna turn out to be. Meanwhile, I've got these big, beautiful ones here. Well, you can see straight back, I got my new butterfly bush. Excuse me, that will be the same exact one that I had last year. That was so beautiful, and I'm hoping it'll last through the year. I've gotten 2 years out of one butterfly bush, but pretty much they have not been particularly happy in my yard. They're gorgeous, and then they just up and die. And so I'm treating it like almost like an annual, and I'm hoping that it will last a couple of years. But anyway, I'm excited about that. That whole space should be a pale lavender butterfly bush. And I'm loving right in there, the purple larkspur has popped up in there. And then right in the middle of that lily, I don't know if you can see this one single stalk, that is a volunteer Verbena bonariensis, which is like one of my absolute favorite things. And I tried and tried to grow them, and I could not get them to grow. They didn't like Houston. So that one's volunteered, but I'm not expecting it to do very well. Here's round 2 with, this is Excellence von Schubert, and isn't that just the most amazing flower? And this, I trimmed this very hard, and so it's got new buds all over it, all over it. All right, I'm gonna jump back here with the camera. I'm loving the cleomes, and some new ones are coming out. Some new ones are finally blooming. This big one was the one that overwintered. I covered it with some leaves because it came up in the fall, and so that's why it's so gigantic compared to the rest. And then back in here, this is the Caldwell pink rose, which has been so beautiful this week. And all the black and blue salvia is coming up. Let's see if I can get you a better look at that. And I am loving, I love these flowers, especially the parsley flowers. I'm letting that pale yellow into the garden, as I'm growing this for caterpillars. And it's really a cool weather crop. I planted this in maybe November, this is just 2 little 3-inch pots. And so it'll poop out as soon as it gets really hot. I'll have to pull it out. The fennel tends to last a lot longer. I've sort of succession planted that, so I'll have more later on in the summer. I'm hoping to make it all the way through the summer with that. This I will replant again in the fall, but instead of just putting it here for caterpillars, I think it's so frothy and beautiful, and oh, I love it so much. I think, just like I do with the carrots, which I'm just doing for their beauty, I think I'm gonna pop a few parsley plants out next fall out in the garden just as an ornamental. And I think it can be really pretty. I hope it works. Here's my newly revamped bed here, and I'm loving this hot pink ivy geranium. I can see it right out my kitchen window. This is my view out of the kitchen window, and so I just love it. And I've got my little protection still on my milkweed, and it seems happy enough in there. I'm hoping that that'll be really beautiful right there. And oh, here's the black and blue salvia. Isn't that fantastic? I just love it. It spreads. You can see how much I have of it, and I'm just constantly pulling it out because it will be like the plant that ate Houston if I don't keep it under control. And then the Joe Pye weed is still taunting me by not opening. It still looks beautiful like this, but not a single little tiny flower has opened. It's driving me nuts. And I moved my dahlia. It was supposed to be in more sun, and this came from a pot that was, I did a Facebook marketplace swap with an adorable young woman. I brought her cuttings of my succulents, and she gave me pots. And this one had a crack in it. I didn't care if they were cracked. But when I got this little support and I jammed it down in this pot, the whole thing cracked all the way down, both sides. So this contraption, I knew if any other plant, I would just dig the plant up and put it in another pot or in the ground. But these dahlias, I planted them so long ago, and I planted the bulbs way at the bottom. And I would destroy these plants. They would be destroyed if I moved this. And so my darling husband created this contraption to hold the pot closed, and then next year when the plant is gone, when we dig up the plant, we will actually fix it a little bit better. But I think it's going to make it, and it made it well enough for me to move it across the yard without coming apart. So I'm really happy about that. I think it looks really cool, and so thank goodness we were able to save it. And then I've got that is a little ivy geranium cutting that I'm hoping maybe I can have geraniums hanging out, kind of like that one. I can't remember what color this particular cutting is, but I'm hoping that will hang out the side. And then here's the little butterfly bush, little buddleia that I moved because I bought the wrong variety. So that is what I replaced with that big one. And so it's finally, I've had an umbrella over it. Every time it was sunny, I came and put an umbrella over it to keep it out of the hot sun. And so it's chilly today, and it's been raining this week. So I think it's pretty happy. I think maybe it'll survive its transplant. And here you can see how beautiful that Caldwell pink rose is. It's gotten a little beaten down with the rain this week, but I do love the combination of the Caldwell pink and that black and blue salvia. The other combination I love with that Caldwell pink that I had years ago was a Caldwell pink rose and a blue Cape plumbago, and they would sort of get all mixed up together, and they just looked fabulous. I loved that combination. I don't have a plumbago in the middle of the yard. I have one way over in the corner up against the garage. They get so big and they can get sort of out of control that I have not put one in the middle of my bed. Although this one, after a couple of freezes, it's sort of stayed small, and so it's a possibility someday that I'll put a plumbago out in the middle here. It would do really well, but I'm afraid I'd have to be cutting it back constantly because it would be too big. Okay, look at this Stokes aster. I mean, it is so beautiful, and it's got so many buds on it, and it's liking this weather. It's liking the cool, it's liking the rain. I'm still having to give it extra water. If it gets hot, I'm having to give it extra water. I'm worried I'm going to have to move it, so I'm hoping it gets established and it will hang in there for the summer. This is a cosmos I planted from seed called Rubenza, and you can kind of see this one just starting to bloom. It hasn't quite opened, but it's a deep maroon, and that is the other color that I'm trying to add, a pale yellow and some deep maroon, to have little dots of color that will pop. Oh, here's something. This is a native Texas plant called pink skullcap, and these little plants have looked so pretty ever since I put them in, but they hadn't bloomed. They just took their sweet time. They've been in the ground, oh my goodness, months and months now, and they look a lot like a little salvia. And here's one that's a little more open. And I'm really, really liking them. I hope that they do well. They're native to Texas. They ought to do well in my yard, but you never know. This is a little salvia, a little teeny tiny salvia that hates me, and they all died. This is one plant, and the rest of them died, and this one just keeps blooming, so I don't know what what the word got around that I wouldn't kill it too badly, and it's surviving. But I think it's so cute. I would love to have a huge patch. I actually bought the pink skullcap to replace it because I couldn't get it to grow, and I'm trying to pick native plants if I can, and so I'm excited that looks so cute, and it's a native plant. Well, I've got these monster cone flowers. They are white. I bought them last year. There's the first one blooming there. I don't know why that one's that size, and this one is, that one's 10 inches tall, and this one is 36 inches tall. I never know. But these look so good. And then I've got a monster pink one back there. You can just barely see a little pink flower in there. And so I think that's going to be really beautiful. I'm disappointed my Gulf Muley grass, the pink muley, is just pitiful. It was so beautiful for months last year. It was my favorite thing. And I trimmed it, but I didn't cut it to the ground. I was trying to leave some habitat for creatures down in the grass. And so I didn't cut it to the ground, but I just sort of cut it, and it was sort of like in little balls, and the cats kept climbing in it. And so it's just not bouncing back. I can just see a tiny bit of growth there, but I hope it, gets going, because I'm kind of bummed that it just, it's the one ugly part in the whole yard. This is a grass that's come back, and there's cousin it there has come back, and yet here these are still just brown. And I don't know, I'm disappointed that it doesn't look at least okay. If it's only going to be pretty in September, I'm going to be bummed about that. So anyway, we'll keep watching. Now I pulled up all of my evening primrose, and so it was pretty bare right here. And so I popped in this pot, and this is Society Garlic, which also hates me. It's a pretty plant. I like that it's a little bit grayer green than its surroundings. So, and I like the shape of it, the shape of the foliage. And so I think it looks pretty there, taking that spot up. The primrose was just smothering everything around it. But, I'm hoping I'm going to fertilize it a lot this year, and hopefully it will bloom for me. I drove by one of the roads in Houston, and they had an ocean of it blooming all over the place on the side of the road in an esplanade. So, if the city of Houston can grow it, hopefully I can too. And I'm loving the little pale yellow. It's so cute. And I do really like, this is getting a little bit ratty, but I really like the Coreopsis moonbeam, that pale yellow with this bluebonnet. And I sort of tore this up when I was messing with the primrose yesterday. So you can see it's all flattened out. But one of the things I did, I made myself some room, and I put in, oh, now this is interesting. I put in a zucchini plant, and I swear I put, oh, you rascals, look at this. Okay, here's my zucchini plant. And look at the snails have eaten the other zucchini plant. It was perfect and beautiful, and it was planted right there. You stinkers. Oh, I can't believe that. Okay, I'm having a conniption fit on camera. I guess I'm gonna move those snails, but I don't know what to do. I'm not good with snails. I don't know what to do about them. All right, so I'm trying to calm myself down and do the rest of the video. Very traumatized. This is a beautiful stand of Monarda called Peter's Purple. It was spectacular last year. I've even dug some up and moved it around, and it just gets bigger and bigger. I didn't realize what kind of spread it is. It's gotten a little bit out of control, and I have had to weed it out a lot. And so I've left just a big patch, and you can see it's just starting to get some color. And it's, oh my goodness, it was one of my favorite things last year. So beautiful. And then I do love this whole edge, so pretty, with the Amy, and then a little sprinkle of really hot pink Penta back there, and then my crazy blue Texas bluebonnet. It came out, oh sorry, there's blue. This one is purple. And, they do make other colors. They have bred other colors. So you can get a maroon one. You can get a pale yellow one, I think now. I did not know there would be a purple one anywhere, but that showed up, and it's fantastic. It's my favorite. And then this Liatris is it's getting ready to bloom. Look at that. I'm kind of wondering, they're not, is that a snail? No, okay, it's not a snail. But these have gotten so big so quickly, and then this kind of looks dark in there. I'm not sure what to do. This is the first time I've ever grown them. They came up from bulbs I bought. So I've got my carrot growing here, and then you can see over there this is Salvia Big Blue, this is the only one that really came back nicely, and then I've got Salvia Mystic Spires tucked back in there. And then I have lots of seedlings coming up. I've got tiny little cosmos and little zinnias. Everybody else's zinnias seem to be blooming already, and my zinnias are all like 3 inches tall. But I do love the Scabiosa and the Euphorbia Mystic Spires, and then this little knotweed, which is looking pretty invasive at this point. I don't know if I can recommend it. It's really become invasive. And then I've got these are Agapanthus, and I'm hoping, they hate me, but I'm hoping that they'll come nicely. This giant mass is Salvia leucantha, and I just keep cutting it and cutting it and cutting it to try to keep it small, because last year it was just this monster. And it's blooming a little bit. You can see some little flowers in there. Let's see, I've got my little stepping place here, or I can put my foot to get back here to weed. So there's the Salvia leucantha bloom. It's all sort of purple and fuzzy. And then I've got all this self-sown sort of volunteer cosmos all in here. And then I did throw some more fennel seed out here, so that when this giant beautiful fennel poops out, I'll hopefully have round 2 for caterpillars right there. If that'll get really big, I think that'd be really pretty. I've had some more thrip problems, so I've had to cut the buds off of a bunch of these. And you can see this has got thrip damage. See how that's not opening? So I need to cut that off. And then I'm also loving this side as well, with its wine cups and its purple sweet potato vine sort of frothing out onto the pathway. And then this popped up this morning. This wonderful daylily, kind of peachy. It's almost too peachy, too orange for me, but it's allowed. I will allow it. And I'm still loving these foxglove. So much fun. And then another pretty amaryllis, kind of a late blooming amaryllis. And I'm loving this. Okay, so it's a lot of green that will bloom in the fall. So this obedient plant will bloom in the fall. These fall asters will bloom in the fall. I've got some volunteer milkweed here. I had a humongous balloon milkweed right here, somewhere, right here, last year. And gosh, it was 4.5, 5 feet tall and so beautiful. And then it just up and died. But before that, I was very cute and funny, and I got one of the big seed balls that looked like a big balloon, and I opened it up and I said, "Be free," and they did. And so they have self-seeded everywhere. So all of this, so you can see the light, it's a little bit lighter green right there. That's all self-sown milkweed. It is everywhere. Not that I'm complaining, but it's a non-native milkweed, and I maybe have a little more than I need. So I'm 99% sure that's what that's gonna be. So these are little, I think they're freesias. I'd have to look and see what the name, if I can find, if I've written down the name. But they're tiny little bulbs, and they were all up in here. And last year, I dug some up. They're teeny little bulbs, big as my, end of my little finger. I dug some up and I sprinkled them. I went and dug just random little holes around the yard. And then I'd kind of forgotten about it. But lo and behold, here they are back in the fern back here. And there's some more sort of already finished blooming over there that I just sort of sprinkled it in, and I'll do that again with the biggest clump here. I'm gonna dig that up and just put maybe 3 little bulbs in little holes all around in the shade. And I just think that looks lovely, and it was just, the easiest thing. They die down to the ground when it gets hot, and so you don't even notice them, and they just pop up. It's almost like, I had trouble naturalizing any kind of bulb, and certainly not any daffodils, which I would love to have. So if I can naturalize this little bulb in the yard so that it pops up in the spring and then it's gone, that would be really great. It would make me happy. Lots of greens. And I think Fred is looking very nice. He's got his flowers around him. Oh, and I've pulled out a lot of pansies and Johnny Jump Ups. The plants are terrible, but the flowers are pretty. So I've popped them in this little vase to sort of give them a last hurrah. But the plants have mostly ended up in the compost pile. And that angel wing begonia, dragon wing, depending on how you feel about it that day. It's looking so pretty. And this other one too. It's just a monster. It is, gosh, it must be 3 feet across. And of course, this thing, I can't believe how this ivy geranium is still looking that good. I'm just stunned. I'm so happy. And then speaking of big monster plants, this is a Salvia Amistad. And oh my goodness, it's like 7 feet tall. And it has come back every single year. And I just, I love it. I love it. I wish it had brighter flowers because it's a little bit hard to see. Color-wise, it just looks so dark, and it's a little bit shady back here, so you don't get the bright purple look from afar. You kind of have to come up close to appreciate it. And I've got a few cute little zinnias and got some cosmos coming up in there. And then this is another, this is that other Monarda, and I'm hoping it looks pretty. I'm not sure it's going to get enough sun back here to bloom. Let's hope. And here's my other monster, giant poppy coming up. And I'll have to show you my poppies before I go. I'm loving this wonderful, this is that giant penta, that really big penta, and I haven't grown it back here before, but I do really like the combo of this penta. And I planted the wrong color back here. It doesn't match the other ones, but I do love it with that Salvia uliginosa, which is that wonderful sort of spreading, wispy. You can see it's sort of this wispy blue, and it grows and it will grow in the shade. It will take sun, but it grows in the shade as well. And so I'm hoping this will continue to bloom. It's doing pretty well. My trees are leafed out already, and so it clearly is getting enough sun to bloom. And then I just popped in, this is something I haven't done in previous years. In the last couple of years with this garden I have, is I just this is my little walkway, and it's looking really bare. And so I just took one of my pots and just popped it in. And when those things fill in, the things I have planted around it fill in, then I'll take it back out. But I didn't used to do that, and I'm really, I'm liking, I think it looks cute. I think back in the day, I didn't used to think it would look good to have a pot in the middle of the garden, in the middle of a bed like this. But I like it, and it really serves a purpose. It really helps fill in a gap when you need it. And the Gulf Coast penstemon, all the big tall pieces are gone, but then it came up with new little short growth. And again, I think it looks really pretty. It's mixed in on the other side with that blue, and I think it looks really pretty as well. pipe vine has gotten confused and went all the way up and it didn't know where to go, so it's coming back down. So I don't really know what to do. I haven't grown it. This is the second year, so I don't really know what the nature of this vine is. I'm just really happy that it's so vigorous right now, because pipe vine swallowtail caterpillars will munch it down to nothing really quickly. And my little chili pekin, which is that little pepper, this is the native Texas pepper, also called bird pepper. Like a cute little flower. It's got new growth on it, and you can cook with it, but also birds really like those spicy little berries, little peppers. And so I'm growing it for both of us, the birds and for me. And the Texas columbines that reseeded back there look really good. They're getting big. Oh, I'm going to show you before I go. I have 2 poppies to show you. Oh, no, I have more things to show you. This is going to be a long video. You were very kind if you have stuck with me. You're still interested in this garden. It's getting messier by the second. Oh, this delphinium finally popped up. It's been a terrible, sickly looking plant. You can see the leaves are still kind of yellow, but goodness, look at that. Isn't that the most beautiful flower? I haven't ever had the delphiniums I've usually gotten look like this, but I guess I got a mix at the store. These are things that I just, I don't grow them from seed. I just pick them up in the fall at the garden center. And so I just, randomly picked some, thinking I was really getting mostly these. And this came in. I love it. It's that sort of dusty pink, and it's really lovely. I don't really have anything quite that exact color. Now I say that, and this is very similar, this bottom piece here. But I don't know. It's just sort of a muddy pink. I like it. And then I had one cute pink larkspur. I had several. I should have had 1,000 larkspur come up. I had several. But I had this one pink, peachy pink, and it's really pretty. And then you can see amongst the bluebonnets, the dark purple are the larkspur, and I think that looks real pretty with the yellow behind it. Oh, this came out. Oh, it's already fallen over. I thought I left. I leave things that I think are going to be weeds, but they look interesting, and I wait. Well, I almost pulled this up the other day, and then I noticed the classic poppy bud. And so this is a poppy from my friend Hallie. She gave me handfuls of them. And I haven't had a lot of luck, but I got one, and that makes me really happy. She gave me the larkspur too. And of course, my friend Rachel at Gulf Coast Butterfly Gardening on her channel, she doesn't want orange flowers either. I had one single volunteer snapdragon from last year, orange. So Rachel, my orange flower, says hello to your orange flower that came up by itself. We did not plant them. I don't know if you dug yours up, Rachel, but I'm probably not going to dig that one up. I keep watching it. This is my native milkweed, and it's got babies down there. And I'm not sure what this big one is, but that's all milkweed, and it's already going to seed. I haven't had a single monarch caterpillar so much as, I haven't seen the monarchs fly over it, and apparently don't think it's good enough for them and keep going. So I'm a little offended by the monarchs lately. I love this frothy, fluffy business. This is fleece flower, and I'm coming to realize that there are several kinds of flowers called fleece flower. And so, but if you look up, if you Google fleece flower, and you see one with these leaves are very distinctive, and so it's not too hard to find. But oh, I just love it. It's just fluffy, and I really would like to get more of it. I think I actually have another plant that has started that I could actually dig up. This was really just one plant about a year and a half ago. And my crazy volunteer tomato, I don't know how big it's gonna get, but I'm just letting it go. And I've got lots of new growth on Mrs. B. Arcant after I lost so much of it after the freeze. I'm trying to get all of this new growth to kind of come up that way, and because it's really just this one side that's still alive. So that's a little work. Now, if the snails don't eat it, I'm gonna put another zucchini right here, and as you can see, I've got a volunteer tomato there, right there, and then I've got volunteer radishes. I planted radishes last year because I like radish flowers, and some of them clearly have self-seeded. Oh, that's gonna bloom for me. How about that? And then I've got my hyacinth bean vine. It's making it to the top of its little trellisy thing, and then I've got my native passion flower vine down there, and it never seems to get any bigger, but I just keep cheering it on. There's my big old, that's a castor bean plant, and it's just got such a funky flower and seed pod that I thought I would try it, and I actually got another one to germinate, and I might stick it back here as well. And I have my super classy string that I put up to try to train the this hyacinth bean vine to cover the rooster. It occurred to me later that I should have picked not quite so white a string that you would see it. If I had picked the sort of brownish twine I also had but didn't think to use, it would be a little harder to see. You can see my little coral berries coming up. They look so pretty and so floaty. They got new growth on them. I just think they look so wonderful. And then there's the bopper, the big bopper. Oh, I love that. I'm trying to train this. This was a tree that got cut down mostly because of all these services right here. And it just is not going to fill back in here. We had to cut so much of it. And so I'm trying to train this into kind of a little ball. And I think it's looking okay. I just want to try to hide the air conditioning unit. And then on the same line as my vegetables, well, I've got more fennel here coming up for butterflies, just sort of round 3 probably. I've got a volunteer tomato, but I've got basil that I put in on purpose. And then I've got more fennel. I just threw some seeds out. I've got more hyacinth vine. And then this still, gosh, it's taken forever. This is that arrowwood viburnum, the Texas native that will have wonderful berries for birds, and it's taken forever to open and let me see its flowers. But here is my other thing. So I bought cantaloupe seedlings, and I put them there, and so we get sun this way through the fence. And so I'm gonna train this cantaloupe to go through the fence and climb around in here. And then I've put 2 zucchini there, and I'll pull out 1. There's really not room for 2, I don't think, if I have the cantaloupe growing here. And so whichever one is more vigorous or doesn't get eaten by snails apparently, will get to live there. And then those are 3 little pepper plants. Those are poblano peppers that I actually grew from seed. The other ones I have on the other side of the yard I bought because I couldn't get these to get off the ground, and so now they're finally going. And I might I'm gonna watch where the sun hits. I might put another I think there was sun kind of coming back here, just up through this opening right here. There was one little patch of sun, and I think I'm gonna try to put a zucchini in there and another one on the side. So, and there's a little peak in the front yard, and the front garden is looking pretty nice, and I'm gonna give a little tour of that later on. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. And it occurs to me, I didn't show you my other poppy. So I'm gonna walk semi-fast. If you've watched my channel before, you know that I say, I'm going to show you this one last thing, and then I show you 5 more things. But all of those poppies that are not the same at all as that red poppy I showed you. All of those poppies I sowed in the spring, I sowed a bunch in the fall and they didn't come up. 1 or 2 did. But these, look, it's getting ready to bloom. But you can see this gray foliage, completely different than that red one I showed you a minute ago. So they look kind of ratty, but I don't care. I'm so excited about it. Okay, I really am going to say goodbye now. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.